Florida prosecutors have just dropped the witness tampering charges against YNW Melly. And to be clear, I said the witness tampering charges, not the murder charges.
Leave me the fuck alone. Period. Leave me the fuck alone. Don't tell me keep my head up. Don't tell me none of that fake ass shit y'all talking about. If you want my nigga before this, and you want to hit me up on a daily basis or a weekly basis before this shit, don't fucking hit me up because you fake as fuck.
Something big just shifted behind the scenes, and most people didn't even catch how serious it really was. This isn't hype, this isn't rumors, and this definitely isn't small news. Melly just walked away from a major legal situation, and the impact of that move is way heavier than it sounds at first glance. Here's what happened. Court proceedings tied to Melly were supposed to kick off with jury selection, but before things could even get moving, the state suddenly pulled the plug. The charge in question, witness tampering, was officially dropped before it ever reached a courtroom decision.
So that murder trial ended up in a hung jury, meaning the jurors couldn't agree on a verdict. And so a mistrial was declared. However, shortly after that mistrial, prosecutors came out and said they were charging Melly with witness tampering in relation to Mariah Hamilton. The prosecutors alleged that Melly used other inmates and people on the outside to convince Mariah not to testify. And so, for these witness tampering charges, Melly was facing life in prison if he had been convicted. But now, the charges are dropped.
That alone raised eyebrows, because cases like this don't usually disappear that clean. The accusation claimed Melly was involved in passing messages through other inmates, allegedly trying to convince his former girlfriend, Mariah, not to cooperate in his ongoing case.
In terms of your daughter, Mariah, where is she?
I don't know.
After this incident, did she live with the family of the defendant?
She's always lived down there. Before this incident, she always lived there.
You guys haven't seen or heard from me because I'm currently wanted. I've tried to get the warrant lifted hundreds of times, but it's just been like a constant battle with my lawyer and the prosecutor.
That was the angle prosecutors were leaning on hard. But now, that entire charge is off the table, and that changes the pressure level in a major way. Now let's be clear why this matters so much. Under Florida law, when someone is already facing a case that carries extreme consequences, anything tied to interfering with that case can carry the same level of punishment. That means this witness tampering situation wasn't light work at all. If it stuck, it could have led to the same outcome as the main case itself. That's why people close to the situation see this as a huge win. This charge wasn't random. It looked more like a backup move, something prosecutors could lean on if the main case didn't go their way. And if both angles landed, the outcome would have been devastating. From the outside, it almost feels like they tried to stack the deck, one charge on top of another, hoping at least one would stick. But with this one gone, that safety net just vanished. Never. If you look at official court records from Broward County, the charges originally listed were serious across the board. They included felony tampering tied to a capital-level case, alleged coordination involving others, and conspiracy claims connected to the same situation. All of that was sitting there on paper, until it wasn't. And before going any further, it's important to slow this down and really look at what was written, what was alleged, and what just got removed from the equation. Because once you actually read the details, the shift becomes even more clear. This moment hit different, no question about it. The energy felt like a quiet win, the kind you don't celebrate loud, but you definitely feel it. The details behind this situation explain why this wasn't just another charge getting tossed aside. Let's get into what the paperwork actually claims. According to the timeline, between April 10th, 2023 and July 22nd, 2023, Jamel Demons, along with others, was accused of knowingly taking part in conduct meant to confuse or influence someone, with the alleged goal of making that person hold back testimony. That's the core accusation right there. Now here's where things get specific, and this part matters. Investigators focused on screenshots from an Instagram conversation that were allegedly sent to law enforcement. Those messages involved Cortland Henry, also known as Bortland, while he was out on bond during an earlier phase of the case. The messages were exchanged with a woman whose name was redacted in the documents. According to the claim, she told Bortland that if someone cooperated against Melly, the consequences would be extreme. She also suggested that Melly had shared details with her directly. She then stated she never repeated those details, saying if she did, there would be no coming back from it. She added that she felt targeted, fearful, and under serious pressure at the time. Now let's rewind slightly for context. On April 10th, 2023, the first trial involving Jamel Demons began in front of Judge John Murphy. That trial ended without a final decision, resulting in a hung jury, and the case was scheduled to return at a later date. That's an important point because everything that followed happened after that moment. Law enforcement then assigned multiple detectives to look into the witness tampering angle. Detective Garrett Steele initially handled the situation. Later, Detective Danny Polo became involved and was tasked with reviewing records to determine whether Demons had any gang-related classification tied to the allegations. Separately, Detective Polo had already been investigating James Howard under a different case. Howard has been held at the Broward County Main Jail since 2020 and is currently facing a conspiracy-related charge handled by state prosecutors. Because of that, his jail communications were being monitored regularly. Every inmate has a unique number and access code for recorded calls. Jamel Demons, however, did not have phone access due to prior disciplinary issues. While monitoring Howard's calls, Detective Polo claimed he heard discussions about messages being passed along to Demons through other people. Those conversations reportedly triggered requests for additional call reviews, and this is where the case tried to connect dots, using indirect communication as the backbone of the accusation. But as serious as that sounds on paper, it clearly wasn't strong enough to hold up once things got real. So let's really slow this down and make it make sense. The accusation basically leans on the idea that someone locked up on a racketeering case was in the same housing area and either helped place calls or passed messages on Melly's behalf. That's the angle they're pushing. Now here's the part people don't like to talk about. Inside facilities like that, this kind of thing happens all the time. If someone can't use the phone and another person has access, messages get passed. That's not some rare mastermind move. That's everyday survival inside those walls. But because this situation involved Melly, and because one of the people mentioned was facing serious charges himself, investigators decided to zoom in hard. Suddenly, normal behavior got treated like something way bigger than it usually is. The phone numbers connected to those calls reportedly traced back to people associated with Melly. The full list wasn't publicly shown, but the claim was that the names all tied back to his circle. That detail became another brick in the narrative they were building. Then there's inmate Terrence Mathis. Records show he made over 60 phone calls to Cortland Henry between March and August of 2023. Mathis has been in custody since 2018 and is currently awaiting trial on a serious charge of his own. Prosecutors tried to frame this as part of a larger communication setup. From there, the paperwork starts using heavy language. It suggests Melly had developed a sophisticated system to stay in contact with people outside the jail, including his co-defendant. That wording sounds intense, but the actual examples tell a much more basic story. One incident mentioned came from surveillance footage inside the main jail. On August 21st, 2023, cameras showed Melly speaking to another inmate during dayroom time. During that exchange, Melly motioned toward a nearby unit, and the other inmate gestured back to confirm. According to the report, Melly slid what looked like a small note under his door. The other inmate picked it up and later passed a similar note into the next unit. After a brief exchange, Melly appeared to signal for the note to be moved again. Now, for anyone confused, this part is key. Passing handwritten notes, often called kites, is common inside. It's basic communication. People ask for books, check on friends, send updates, or handle everyday requests. Before phones existed, letters were everything. Inside, it's no different. Just smaller paper and quicker handoffs. But instead of seeing it as routine, investigators treated it like the start of something bigger. That decision alone sparked a whole separate investigation, all over notes and calls that could have just been someone asking for simple favors. And all of this could have been nothing more than someone checking in, keeping basic contact, or sending a simple message. Especially when Melly's direct communication access was already restricted for a stretch. But instead of treating it as routine, this moment turned into the starting point for a full-blown investigation that spiraled into something much bigger. Based on reports, investigators leaned heavily on assumptions. In official paperwork, Detectives claim that based on their experience with contraband cases, the conversation they observed was immediately flagged as a plan to smuggle illegal substances into the facility. No hesitation, no gray area, just straight to the most serious conclusion. From there, 2 detectives classified as gang specialists conducted interviews with another incarcerated individual. That person allegedly claimed Melly was organizing and controlling the entry of substance-laced paper into the jail. The claim went further, stating that within a recent 2-month window, the individual had personally obtained those substances through Melly. The accusation didn't stop there. The paperwork suggested the material was being brought in through the mail, disguised as legal documents connected to attorneys. That detail alone raised red flags because it drags protected legal processes into the narrative without clear proof presented in public filings. After that, the documents take a sharp turn into heavy gang-related framing. Entire sections are dedicated to listing different sets, affiliations, and internal structures, from 9-tray, 1-8-tray, Gangster Bloods, Valentine Bloods, Bloodstone Villains, and more. The paperwork stacks name after name, label after label, almost burying the reader in terminology. The most emphasized groups were highlighted repeatedly, with attention on hierarchy, leadership titles, and organizational ranking. Godfather roles, upper tiers, lower tiers, every layer spelled out like a textbook. But here's the thing, most of this information isn't new or secret. It's widely known, publicly available, and heavily recycled. That's where the strategy becomes clear. The goal wasn't just to explain background, it was to turn the entire case into a gang-driven narrative. Because once a situation gets labeled as gang-related, the potential consequences increase fast. Adding a gang element changes everything. It amplifies penalties, intensifies sentencing possibilities, and reshapes how the entire case is viewed. That same approach was clearly attempted in the main case as well, framing it not as a standalone incident, but as something allegedly tied to organized activity. That shift is exactly why the stakes were raised so high. It's also why the most severe outcomes were pursued. Strip away the gang angle and the picture looks very different. And now that this angle didn't stick, it's clear that not everyone involved is taking it lightly. Certain investigators are likely feeling the pressure after investing so much into pushing that narrative forward. And this is where everything circles back to one person, the detective who kicked off this entire chain reaction. The same detective who pushed the gang framing, who leaned hard into expertise claims, and who helped turn routine behavior into a full courtroom spectacle. This investigation didn't just appear out of thin air. It was built step by step, choice by choice. This is the same investigation that pulled in sweeping gang allegations, layered on assumptions, and expanded into a full witness tampering case that never even made it to a jury. Think about that for a second. All that time, all those resources, all that buildup, and it collapsed right before jury selection could even begin. That means Broward County spent serious money chasing a narrative that ultimately didn't hold up. Court filings, manpower, surveillance reviews, interviews, and legal preparation, all of it wiped away in one move. Whether people agree with the approach or not, the result speaks for itself. From Melly's side, this is undeniably a major win. A charge that carried massive consequences is now gone completely. Fans see it as relief, supporters see it as validation, and critics are forced to admit this part of the case didn't stick. But here's the reality check. This doesn't mean the story is over. Melly is still facing the main trial connected to the original allegations, and that process has already stretched on for years. 7 years behind walls with no final resolution is heavy by any standard. At this point, the next phase isn't expected until next year, which only adds to how drawn out this entire situation has become. Regardless of where people stand, it's hard to ignore how much time has passed without closure. Still, today mattered. Dropping this case removed a massive layer of pressure. It changed the board, shifted leverage, and exposed how aggressive some of the strategies were from the start. Now the big question is simple. What happens next? Does the focus tighten? Does the approach change? Or does the system double down again? That's where the conversation opens up. And that's where I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts below. Do you see this as a turning point or just a temporary pause in a longer fight? If this breakdown helped you understand the bigger picture, make sure you like the video, share it with someone who's been following this case, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. There's a lot more unfolding, and we'll be right here breaking it down. And before you go, don't click away just yet. Check out the next video on your screen for more celebrity drama, courtroom twists, and stories that keep shifting when you least expect it. I'll see you on the next one.